So this is my year roundup for Giant Bomb. I'm doing it in video this time rather than audio. I couldn't get to the studio sadly, so I wasn't able to drink scotch with Ryan and Jeff. But this will have to do. Last year I got asked to do this, and at the very end of the review, and everyone had picked all the decent games, so I forced myself to work in a limitation of just the letter D. And I was able to bring out new and interesting games like Dig and Rig, which you should still go and play, and bring up Dark Souls and stuff like that. So I gave myself the same limitation, which is the letter S. And so what I'm going to talk about is bits and pieces in the game industry around about the letter S, some games beginning with the letter S, and then because we're recording in our studio, I've managed to convince a couple of our people to come and drop in and do sort of mini guest appearances of games that really fire them up and give them a lot of passion and energy. So, let's think about it. What was this year? Well, one of the things about this year for me was shame. Deep shame, actually. The number one reason why, being a great example of it. And really for a games industry, we've got to grow up and properly grow up. And there was an awful lot written about, talked about, and acted upon this year that I think has been really, really, really strong. There are things that we must do better. And the number one reason why was a great example of that. There's also a lot of sorry. The ending of Mass Effect 3 being another example of that, where we sort of go, sorry, we didn't mean to cause trouble, I really didn't mean to cause offence, really do work on games really, really hard. But look what they did. Went off, revisited it, brought it out for free, and have the trilogy in that. So that was really, really important. It was also a year for sequels, some of which were good, some of which were not so good. Good ones, Borderlands 2, I thought knocked it out of the park. I thought it was actually a brilliant sequel. I've been trying to figure out if there's a better 2 game yet. I'm not sure that there is. So Borderlands 2 was really, really good. Assassin's Creed 3 came out. It was done by my friend Alex Hutchison and about 400 other people. He was the creative director. I remember him leaving EA to go and work on that game and the challenges. And we hung out at E3 this year, where he was mostly semi-unconscious from the stress and the strain and the pressure. So good to see how. I actually played it in 3D on a 3D TV, which is the best place to play 3D games, I'm told. And it was mind-blowing. Not that I'm suggesting everyone should play games in 3D, but just from a game design experience, actually seeing a game being in another format that I'm not used to, I thought was really, really, really exciting. FIFA Street came out. That was a sequel of sorts, 4 years since the last FIFA. That was done by my friend Gary Patterson. It's a really interesting game. I'm not sure the sales actually reflected how joyous it was. It was a game about smaller amounts of players doing really, really clever things with the controls. I actually felt like I was brilliant, which is a great example because I'm rubbish. The closest I can amount it to is like when Tony Hawk used to be good, and I could pretend to be good on a skateboard, as opposed when it actually tried to make me good on a skateboard, and then I was just a spacker with no knees. So that's basically the sort of stuff that it had. So that was really good. Strategy made a comeback this year. That was really exciting. Also, things were revisited, which was awesome. Series came back. Probably my favourite was the revisiting of XCOM. Now, I'm so old that I remember the original XCOMs. I'm so old I remember Laser Squad, which was the precursor to even XCOM. In fact, I'm so old I played the Spectrum 16K Rebel Star Raiders, which was the game that ultimately became Laser Squad later on. What does that mean? That meant that it was in my golden period. That's the period where I really care about games, and they were really, really important to me. And I think everyone has this golden period in their life, and games become sort of super important and super, super linked into your psyche. And the problem with that is once you're out of your golden period, all of the games are crap. Your golden period games are awesome. And if anyone ever dares revisit them, you hate them with every fibre of your being because they're messing with your childhood. And that was the problem. XCOM's writ so large that it was like, how dare you? How dare you, sir? And so a lot of worry. Played it, worry-free. It's reimagined, it's rebooted, it's cool, it fits the new platform beautifully, it honours the original, but in an awesome way. I'm playing the heck out of it. And it's got loads of different formats. You can play easy peasy, you can play Iron Man, I play it with an Xbox controller, even on the PC, because I just liked it that way. The reason I like that, of course, is because shamelessly we're reinventing Ultima 4 as Ultima Forever, and we're going through all the same trials, tribulations, and pain. So they made it successful. Now all I got to do is sort of get close to their success. And actually, where our studio's going, we're actually going to be revisiting quite a few things like that. It was sort of British history from my childhood. which is going to be very challenging. But if Hexagon could do it, we've got a great chance. So simulations made a comeback this year, which is interesting. I'm so old, I remember when simulations meant wearing like a pretend flight suit and an enormous joystick bigger than your head. And lots of buttons. And basically, simulations back then were all about throwing great big hunks of metal through the air and coming up with wonderful air physics. Then simulation programs moved on and they became sort of like god simulators, pointing fingers and flooding everything, turning everything to fire. And then they moved into like world simulation. Everyone got obsessed with like real world physics. And then they sort of drifted out of interest again. But they slowly but surely came back. They've come back in two interesting ways. But the biggest one, the one that sort of took off this year, was people in situational simulation. So you got things like survival. DayZ was a great example of that, where all of a sudden you were going around and trying to see if you could survive against other people, scrabbling for equipment. And that whole idea of simulating a moment, simulating an experience, was sort of driven home pretty good. Skyrim was one, and before the people argue and say that was in November last year, you're not allowed that. Just understand, I'm talking about Dawnguard, the expansion, and I'm talking about it for a very particular reason. Skyrim keeps selling. So throughout the year, all we've heard and seen is like studios closing and sales aren't strong and what's happening and everything's moving on to new mobile devices, what's going on. And then you have something like Skyrim. Not a massive franchise, it's been many years since we had the other one. It's come out and it's dominated. It's a simulation. It's done by Todd, one of the few creative people who I just deeply admire. Fallout is the same, it's a simulation as well. Skyrim's out, making money, it's bundled with the Xbox right now. Dawnguard is a great expansion, it's already a huge game, and it is that simulation. So I still think Skyrim was worth bringing up as a game of the year. There was also games I sucked at. Super Hexagon is a game that I totally suck at. We actually have it at the studio, and we sort of play it with the fingers, and I'm in the Seniors League, another S. And that's where the people who are old and crusty like me are basically just desperately trying to complete the first level. We long for the blue and go, oh. In fact, I had 59.83 seconds, which is actually the world's saddest Super Hexagon time. It's so sad that the young people who play it can't believe that I can actually end a game that close to success. It baffles them. So Super Hexagon was really, really challenging. Simpsons Tapped Out came out. That was like slight gaming. So the other games that you play, they used to be like lean in for playing on the PC, and lean back was like elbowing people on the console, and then curl up gaming is sort of like playing on your little iPhone and your iPad. And The Simpsons was one of those drool, go back to it games, but it was funny. It was super slight. And it was a lot of fun. So that was really, really good. And then there was social commentary games. It was a good year for people to take games as art and try and say something with them. There was actually lots of them. You can get games about climate change, there's ones about the presidential elections, and there's loads to pick at. Like all art forms that are young and struggling to find out how to explain themselves, it sort of smacks of kids who've gone to college in the first year of philosophy courses who then ended up in the pub and are quite drunk. They're impassioned, they're trying really hard, but they're kind of clumsy and, they might be full of themselves. There's loads to pick from, they were all great. I'm just going to pick one, it's called Unmanned. Find it on Google, just put Unmanned Flash game. Play it. It's like early work of art. It's a social commentary game. So, all in all, I thought the year was fabulous. And I'm really looking forward to the next one, because it's going to be sexy. Another S. Moving on, let's just go and invite the hipsterest hipster that we have in our studio, a guy called Ken Hipster Holly, to find out what he thinks of the games in question. First up, let's find out what he thinks about Assassin's Creed 3. So Ken, Assassin's Creed 3, baby.
Didn't play it.
Well, Borderlands 2 was awesome.
Didn't play it.
Fever Street reimagined street football.
Didn't play it.
Okay, what about the ending of Mass Effect 3? You must have played Mass Effect.
Didn't get there.
Okay. XCOM, the reimagining of a classic.
Never heard of it.
Okay. Simpsons Tapped Out.
Love it.
Call of Duty multiplayer.
It's alright.
Oh, you actually played that one?
I played it.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel a little better about that. Super Hexagon.
Never heard of it.
Skyrim Dawnguard.
Didn't play it.
So, Skyrim, it was tremendous, and I really, really enjoyed it. Here's Kate to talk to you a little bit about why she loves it so.
Hi Giant Bomb, my name is Kate Flack and I'm lead designer for Ultima Forever. My game of the year, beginning with S, is Skyrim Dawnguard. Not only do I get to smush vampires, thus getting out my Twilight hatred, it's also the game that proves that white is perfectly fine for a UI. Skyrim, play it.
One of the sequels that came out was Call of Duty. Had a multiplayer, and one guy in our office laughed his ass off and then said, "Oh." I was so excited about that, I said, "Alex, come over here and tell the Giant Bomb faithful what it is about Call of Duty that you love so much that makes you guilty."
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm a software engineer at Mythic, and I completely remember what it is that Paul introduced me to talking about. I'm pretty sure it was the Call of Duty Black Ops 2 multiplayer, and why I love it so much, and why it fills me with self-loathing. S's, it's a sequel. If there was any game that could ever really walk around with the right to be called a sequel, it's Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And I just can't stop playing it. And that's why I love it, and that's why I hate it. I've filled myself all the way up to the top with self-loathing and prestiged, dumped it all out, and I'm starting all over again. So my initial thought on the Call of Duty was that the franchise was going to be old, tired, played out. What more could they do with multiplayer? Nukes going off, getting strafed by A-10s, blowing up constantly, 12-year-olds screaming about my mother in my ear. But I bought it just to try it out, see what it was like, selling like hotcakes in the future, very cool. And I was surprised. I couldn't put it down. I'm not getting blown up, I'm blowing people up, I'm having a good time, I'm turning my guns golden. It's very exciting.
So Ken, the clothing, hipster?
Yes. Pawn store. Sorry. Let's start that over. Not pawn store. Thrift store, okay.
And your request is you want to pick your own background?
Yes. Cats with hats.
Cats with hats.
Cats with hats. Everyone loves cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. Super Hexagon. It's fabulous. I've got pudgy, slow fingers. The young kids in the studio, they love it. We've got one of them who's rated like number 2 in the known Bajuniverse, but he's not here right now. He's off playing Super Hexagon. So we got one of the other people who's really excited about Super Hexagon. So excited that he is wearing an illegal, non-trademarked, no profit to the author t-shirt. And with that wonderful introduction, he can tell you why he likes it.
Super Hexagon is my favorite game of the year. I love it so much, I made this t-shirt. Minimalist design, executed brilliantly. Awesome music, and a Twitch game that works perfectly on an iPad. Amazing. It has stolen probably 40 to 60 hours of my life this year, and I spent $2 on it. I love it.
One game I haven't mentioned, because she told me on pain of death she'd kill me if I did, is going to be mentioned by Carrie.
Hi! I've been dragged into this room full of foam that terrifies me to tell you about arbitrarily something that begins with S, which is lucky because one of my favorite games that came out this year begins with an S, and that game is Space Team for the iPad. It is one of the most thrilling, definitely the best, one of the most thrilling pass and play games that you can have on the iPad, but it's all about basically being a video game producer, as I am, and managing a team of people to get a bunch of tasks done all at once. And now it sounds not that fun, but it's fast, it's frantic, it's all about shouting out ridiculous things, and things happen, and you're trying to get other people to do things for you, and it's like you're, producing a video game, which is sort of like what I do, but the fun part.
So that was Carrie talking about Space Team. Space Team, it's free. It's on the iPad and the iPhone. What have you got to lose? To be fair, as a sell, it doesn't really work. But imagine what would happen if you took a game like Bop It, mixed it with all the madness of trying to learn Star Trek lingo, then got a group of people together furiously tapping. It's a blame game. All you do is end up swearing at each other with big veins popping on your head and laughing a lot. So often with games, we say that they've got to aim for high ideals. Actually, I think some games are brilliant because they just make you laugh. You can play it as a little kid, you can play it as a grandma, you can play it with everyone. Space Team, it's free for God's sake. Go download it, go play it, it's awesome. So you have a Giant Bomb page?
I do, yes.
And they keep, what is it they keep putting on your page?
So someone keeps going in and adding HBE enthusiast, which around here means hard-boiled egg enthusiast. I don't know why. I do love hard-boiled eggs, but not that much.
And how is your mouse these days?
Fine. I don't understand. I think Jeff put that one in there, but I don't know where that came from.
Have a good Christmas. It's going to be great. Come to Giant Bomb more often. It's awesome. Check out Ken Holly's profile on the Giant Bomb website because he's a hipster and he needs all the help he can get him. I'm Paul Barnett. We're at Mythic Studio. Thanks for listening.